So, how are you, Mr. Circle? Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. I'm doing well. We're hanging tight in Chicago. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right, hanging in there. You
Yeah,
were on the podcast, audio podcast, I don't know how long ago. Was it a couple years now?
that sounds about right. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay. And just to tell people you're a musician, you got a video that you're promoting, which we're going to play in a little bit. Just give your quick backstory so people know kind of who you are and what you do.
All right. I've been based in Chicago for more than 30 years, a touring independent musician and author, award-winning author, I guess I should say. I'm also a coach here in Chicago, and uh, with great gratitude, rated among the best. And it all comes out of just the experience of being an independent artist. And I have a record label, Guild by Association Records, which I use to basically coach about a half a dozen other singer songwriters like myself into the business of music. They keep every dime they make. And yeah, now I just keep writing, and now we're in a pandemic mode over here, and everything has been shut down, and that's a big pivot for everybody.
Chicago was did you guys, were you on strict lockdown? Are you still on strict lockdown? Because it's different state to state. I don't
Yeah,
know who's what.
yeah. Chicago looked like it was going to become a hot spot. Our mayor and governor, the governor of Illinois, both jumped in together, and we locked down March 16th. Incidentally, 3 days before I was to do a live 25th anniversary show with
Oh,
a famous drummer joining me and a great lineup, which I felt I was actually grateful for that. I didn't be responsible for anybody getting sick, and a lot of my demographic are at risk because they're older than I am, and yeah, we've had a pretty strict lockdown, and Chicagoans in general have handled it quite well. We just today reported more than 2,000 cases throughout the state for the first time since May, I believe. So there's been an uptick as they've reopened, but they opened bars with limitations. Now they've closed them again unless they're a restaurant and bar. They've extended all the state unemployment, including pandemic unemployment. So I'm really grateful about the way they've handled it. I've talked to the local media on behalf of the music scene, and a lot of musicians losing 30 gigs,
oh
in a
yeah,
day, kind of
yeah.
thing. But we're really kind of in my community, particularly, really banding together. The city of Chicago Department of Cultural Affairs had a substantial budget for this being the year of Chicago music, and all the huge festivals, and Lollapalooza is here every year.
Yeah.
All of that got canceled right away, and they took that entire budget and pushed it out into the community. So it's one of those situations where, as difficult as it is for everybody, um, we're really, I'm seeing anyway, a considerable amount of support from one person to another. We're not even complaining about the venues anymore. We're just worried that they'll stay open. So,
Well, it's hard for indie musicians right now because as you know, I mean, the industry has flipped upside down from what it used to be. And it's much more difficult for people to make a living just selling recorded music. So the bulk of a lot of people's income that I know who are musicians is from gigging. And with that shut down, I mean, they've really been hurting for, just to survive.
that's so true, and some of us have been fortunate enough in that if we were reporting taxes in the right way, like a Schedule C sole proprietorship or something like
Yeah.
that, we've been able to grab the pandemic unemployment, uh, to supplement. What's been remarkable with that is it's sort of shown a lot of artists what they should really be making for a living. So I think a lot of people are going to come out of this saying, "Hey, uh, I think I need to make more for all the efforts I put in. Why don't we give more to the arts, man? Come on. But yeah, and again, I've seen, a friend of mine, the guy who produced the song that I wrote for the video my wife made that we're going to talk about. Uh, he's out in L.A. He's originally a Chicago guy, and they're just getting nailed out there. He hasn't left his house since March except to go grocery shopping, and he's done like 40 live streams. And he and other people I've talked to have been saying that people are being more generous than usual. So I think as long as people are getting money in some form or another, they're putting it back, and
Well,
that's of
that's
course what a
great. Yeah.
consumer-driven economy is supposed to do, So it's so we can only hope, man.
I hope that people do, give to their artists and support people's GoFundMe's and all those, and buy T-shirts or whatever they got to do, because I know a lot of people that are hurting, and there's no end in sight to this thing.
Nope.
That's the problem that I see. If there was a definitive date, which I know is impossible, but if there
Right.
was, people could sort of plan. Well, okay, I got
Yep.
3 months more of this, and then I can go back to work. But we don't know when this is gonna. And it's bad in the U.S. because we thought it was going away, and then it
Hmm.
just came roaring back. I mean, it
Yep.
reminded me of somebody who has cancer, in a sense that they go into remission for a while and everything's cool, and then the cancer comes roaring back. I mean, that's what happened with my father,
Hmm.
and
Mine too. Yeah.
yeah,
I
I
feel
mean,
you. Yeah.
that's sort of the nature of cancer is they can get most of it, but then it goes and hides for a
Yep.
while. And then when it's ready, it comes roaring back and it kills you half the time. So, I don't
Yeah.
know. I just, I hope this thing gets over with, but I think online is going to be the new normal for a lot
Yes.
of musicians, I think,
Well, and you really focus when you're in the midst of any kind of hardship, and then things that you thought were hardships suddenly become really not that big of a deal. So you get a greater perspective if you can keep your condition of life in a higher frequency, so to speak,
Yeah.
um, and which is of course difficult. I know a half a dozen people that have passed away in the last several months, and reaching out to their families and not even COVID related, which is the insane part of it. Everything is enhanced when it is a real source of suffering, and so we're all sort of in the middle of this high tension where when we step past this, we're probably going to have collective PTSD, and
Yeah.
and we're really going to have to pull together, and we're really uh, um, just like anything that really challenges a group of people, we're either going to rise to the occasion or we're going to, fall apart. And I imagine it won't be a nationally collective response. It will be regionally and based upon the people we're around and that sort of stuff. But I. Um, I really feel strongly that when we recognize the intrinsic motivation of people, and I wrote about this in my book, which is I think why I came on your podcast before, the Outback Musician Survival Guide. It's just my kind of a memoir of an independent musician, starting from when I was a little kid to
Yeah.
how I've survived and what happened and where I screwed up, which was profusely, and that kind of stuff. But I reflect a lot, and what and how and how do you keep going when you're doing this? And I read a book. By Daniel Pink called Drive, and in it he cited just countless studies of how the intrinsic motivation of human beings is to solve problems and help each other before anything else. That's like our biological need
Yeah.
is to be there for people. And so when any of us are in a public eye or in a position in a community to show any kind of leadership, when we can lead with with a collective positive, I think we're just going to be better off. A whole lot of stuff is bubbling to the surface with this.
Yes.
Universal basic income was a fringe idea, and now even conservatives are thinking, hey, we need a driven economy. People need bucks to do that. More than 100 CEOs wrote a collective letter to Congress saying you better take care of small businesses with more than a PPP, loan. And all this sort of stuff. People are really stepping up and saying, we're seeing the problems that were being largely ignored. And there's where hardship can lead to growth. And, hardship is always there. This is just one long, hardship for everyone. To be
Yes.
reminded of what it feels like to be lonely, to be reminded of what it feels like to be sick, to be reminded of what it feels like to lose loved ones. And, so I just, that's what my song is all about too. It's just the hope that I have of all that, that all these things will happen as I see them happening.
Well, that's a perfect segue because we got to get to your video. So the video is called I See Hope.
Right.
And tell us a little about it.
Well, I was, sitting playing my guitar as I do. And I just, writing a song is not something that always just flows forth. Sometimes you have to really work for it. Sometimes you have ideas kind of floating around. And sometimes you have to make real concerted efforts to do it. But once in a blue moon, something just spills out. It was germinating, in your subconscious. And that's what happened here. I was sitting playing with the chord progression that you hear throughout the song. And I just opened my mouth, and what I think I needed to hear came out, and it was I See Hope. And then I just kept talking, so to speak, and scrawled it out on the page as fast as it came. And I came up with an instrumental to break up the monotony and recorded my guitar and vocal tracks into. I'm not an engineer, but I have a little Spire studio. You hit record and it does everything for you. And I sent that the stem tracks out to my friend Ted Wolfers in Los Angeles, the guy I mentioned earlier, and he added all the rest of the instruments, pretty heavily featuring his mandolin work, which is beautiful. And he added some vocals, and we had backup vocals. And then we added my wife some backup vocals. And while he was mixing and mastering, then I said to my wife, Megan Kors, she's an actor and with background in film as well. And I said, we should do a video, and let's just reach out to everybody and say, hey, here's a raw track of my song we're working on. Lip sync or dance or do whatever you want, and send us like a 10-second clip. And right in the middle of all of this, just as we start doing this, the protests were happening everywhere. I mean, we were hearing helicopters and tear gas canisters down the street,
Oh, wow.
and stuff. And again, in Chicago, handled that all quite well. I thought, the mayor right away said, "We know that the looters aren't protesters," and and criticized them for hijacking it, and then told everybody else,
Yeah.
"Be safe, wear a mask." So all this stuff is just going on in a serendipitous way. It was all the right timing for this to unfold. And so, with everybody dealing with all their stuff where they were, we ended up with clips from 20 friends and family from as far away as Europe and the UK. There's a clip of alt blues guy Dave Arcari in Scotland, right next to Loch Lomond. It's very gloomy, cloudy, and he's all bearded, singing "I See Hope," And so it's a quarantine song and a quarantine video, and then the song released to everywhere online, from Spotify to Pandora to YouTube to wherever, to all over the world. On the 19th of June, it wasn't planned that way. I'd actually hoped for it to be out the 16th. It's just everything's delayed,
Yeah.
And then by the 22nd, we debuted the video online, and then I shared it on, so it's on YouTube. It's gotten about 180,000 views on Facebook. Um, and it's now also in consideration at in 5 now different film festivals, including Sundance.
Oh, great.
So there's one in Dublin, there's one here in Chicago, there's one in Austin, all the other ones in Leeds, England, where the Who did their live album.
Let's take a look at it. This is "I See Hope" by Phil Circo.
I see hope. I see things we know we do and we cope. I see you, a version I've known and another I don't. I see sun, I see light where you don't, and it's fading the cracks. I see one youth changing it all. Winter never turns into fall. I see hope. You see me. I feel answers swirling around in a sea of the mind. When it leads with a heart and victory looms above all. We have reasons to rise and reasons to fall. I see one youth changing it all. Winter never turns into fall. I see hope. Losing. You're winning, 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 winning. I ask you, are you one with the whole or alone with the few? Can you see? There's nothing of substance between you and me. I see hope. I see things we know we do and we cope. I see one youth changing it all. Winter never turns into fall. I see hope. Youth changing it all. Winter never turns into fall. I see hope. Changing it all. Winter never turns into fall. I see one youth changing it all. Winter never turns into fall. I see hope changing it all. I see hope. I see hope. I see hope.
Wow, that was great. You know,
Thank you.
I know it's kind of a silly comparison, But it reminds me of that "We Are the World." Do you remember that?
Yeah, well,
It has an element of that.
that may be exactly what I said, probably while laughing when I said to my wife, we should do this thing. I think I might have even said, like, like a "We Are the World" thing. And this isn't my standard kind of songwriting either. I have the minority of my material is, more pop, uplifty kind of stuff. I have a lot of dark songs, because I just
Yeah,
reflect honestly on the world and what I feel and what I see and that kind of thing. And some other plenty of cynical ones and stuff. So that I felt like, well, we've really got to take this the whole way. Hope empowers people to take action. It's when
true.
we lose hope that
Yeah,
we fall into despair and give up. And I've been there, and I wrote about that in my book. And what it did to me was almost kill me. So we cannot give way to despair. We have to keep hope alive, and we have to talk and with other people and give them hope. When we share gratitude, studies even show when we share gratitude, the person that expresses the gratitude gets better health benefits from the oxytocin produced than the person who is accepting the gratitude. So that says a lot about how we can respond to hardship. The gratitude for the opportunity to grow, which is certainly hard to come by, but giving hope to each other and giving hope to other people.
well, on that note, I think we're going to have to wrap it up.
All right.
Uh, Thanks so much for coming on. Do you have a website you want
I
to
do.
give out?
Yep. PhilCircleMusic.com.
All right, super.
Everything's on there.
All right, Phil, thanks so much for coming on the show. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
sharing your video. That was great. And
Thank you.
best of luck with everything. I hope this pandemic situation disappears sooner than later. But
Here's hoping. Yeah.
yeah, here's hoping. Okay, take care.
All right, you too.